If you've listened to other podcasts, you'll probably be thinking that this might just be an occasion to bash religion. Not so. I think religion has a role to play, but I want to contrast reason and religion because they're wholly different approaches to life, one of which smells of freedom, namely reason, and one of which to some extent smells of servitude, namely religion. Now, they're quite different things. And this is a really important point. Reason sees things as they are. Doesn't complain about it. Just says, yeah, we're all driven by the desire to survive. That's a topic I talk about a lot, but we're all driven by this desire to survive, and that has certain implications. Namely that we will kill things to eat them, that we will try and dominate other people, that we will seek an advantage, if it's in our interest, over somebody else's possible harm or whatever. This is the way it operates. But I shall elaborate on that a little bit more later. Religion does not see things as they are. Religion believes that the state of things is unsatisfactory. Even Zen Buddhism, which proclaims that, you're already enlightened and everything's perfect. People then go and meditate for 30 years and they try and realize their true nature, which they already have, apparently. But even so, they still go striving after something. So the difference is that reason is a kind of acquiescence to the reality of the world we live in. Religion is in some form or other a protest. So in the Christian religion, as people generally understand it, there's a belief that man is in a fallen state, which is why we have wars and why we are selfish and hateful and all those kind of things. And that there is an opportunity to be reborn or to take on a new life through your beliefs and your practices and so on and so forth. It's kind of ironical that that message never seemed to permeate the powers that be in the Christian religion, because, as you know, millions of people have died because of religious conflict. So it doesn't matter what religion you look at, there is some statement about how unsatisfactory things are, and some statement of how there's some satisfactory condition that can be achieved through whatever, going to church, meditating, reciting sutras, whatever it is. And not only that, but in religion, so for example, in the Upanishads, it's stated that the self, which is, if you like, the core essence of existence, is called the self, but it really means the core essence of existence. This thing enlightens people at its discretion. If you're worthy, you will get enlightened. And the reality is that 99.99% recurring of people in life do not get enlightened, so they just have to get on with the fucking drudge. And maybe they pray all their lives, or whatever they do to try and achieve this state, and it doesn't happen. So religion from that point of view is a very, very unsatisfactory kind of activity. But religion is needed. And I'm going to be calling upon Spinoza quite a bit here, because if you're talking about reason and the age of reason, then, Spinoza's the man, really. There were others, obviously, like Kant and Leibniz, but Spinoza, in my opinion anyway, expressed the whole situation best. So let's have a look at the nature of life, and some of this, you may find unacceptable. None of us like to see, for example, someone being bullied. Most of us anyway. But bullying is a natural outcome of the way things are set up. So I've talked about this before, but I'll go over it quickly. Every creature that is born, and remember, we are not self-creating things, we are produced out of life, out of the universe, in the way that we're produced, and that includes both nature and nurture. So if we grow up to be a horrible, great big bully, then that may be some genetic predisposition, but it may also be nurture. Maybe we were bullied as kids, and we grow up and we see the opportunity to bully, and it's sort of like we're getting our power back. But these things are natural processes. We see them as unnatural, but they're actually natural processes. So every creature, according to Spinoza anyway, has something called its sovereign natural right, which is its own powers that it has. So lions are more powerful than gazelles, and extraordinarily devious people in many ways are more powerful than honest people in the way life operates in terms of getting power and money and that kind of thing. So the natural state for human beings would basically be for the strong and the devious and the deceitful to dominate the whole situation. And you could say, well, they do. And yeah, you're kind of right, they do. But we have a state that allows us to implement all kinds of laws, and they may not be perfect, but they're better than nothing. It means that someone cannot walk into your house and just say, I want this, otherwise I'm going to shoot you. Well, they might shoot you anyway, just because they want it. There will be repercussions for that person. So we temper this God-given natural sovereign right by the use of reason, by saying, well, actually, we want our lives to be tolerable. We don't want a life that is wholly brutal and random. And it's only really the use of reason that allows us to build something that is tolerable. And you might think that the use of reason is a thing without feeling or emotion. Not so. It was Einstein who said that it was a sense of the mysterious that drove him on. And you don't have to be a kind of geeky blockhead to use reason. If you look at existence, well, existence for a start is a really weird thing. People take it for granted, but it's just a really strange thing. Why is there something instead of nothing? And what is this something? Is this something an integrated whole? Or are there just lots of little bits all floating around that are relating to each other in some kind of way sometimes? And by using reason, those are the kind of questions we can ask and reach some conclusions that are fairly, they're fairly, satisfying in terms of trying to understand our lives and this a priori universe that we've been thrown into without any kind of instruction manual. So, the universe is more bizarre than we can imagine. We don't need miracles. If you want to talk about miracles, they're happening all the time, every day. If you study something like physics, then quantum mechanics, a really weird, strange thing. Relativity, very strange. I'll give a very brief example. So, for example, there are these atomic particles called mesons, which come flying into the atmosphere. Now, mesons can travel through about 100 meters, or is something like that, 100 meters of atmosphere before they collide with something, and then they kind of dissipate. So people were thinking, well, how the hell are these things making it through the atmosphere, which is 250 miles thick? And then Einstein came along with his relativity, and he said, well, these things are traveling near the speed of light, so they actually see the thickness of the atmosphere is actually only a few yards thick. As far as they're concerned, our atmosphere is just a few yards thick. So as far as they're concerned, they go through that with ease. So is our atmosphere a few yards thick, which for the mesons it is, and the proof of the pudding is that they make it through, or is it 250 miles thick, which we measure because we are stationary with respect to the atmosphere, more or less anyway. This is weird stuff. There is no absolute in the universe. Everything is relative. If you can use reason and understand these things, you don't need miracles and astral bodies and fucking chakras and all that kind of stuff. I mean, maybe the chakras are some kind of representation of our glandular systems or something. I don't know. But at the end of the day, reason applies or supplies lots of strange things. Lots of things are very satisfying in terms of understanding them, and gives us a sense of awe and mystery about the universe. We don't need religion to get that. The problem with religion is that it's always built on power structures. You only need to look at the Catholic Church to see that. And even something like Zen Buddhism is built on power structures. But what would the masses, the unthinking masses, do without religion? Well, they would probably be brutes. And a few people have said that. Spinoza was one of them. In that sense, he wasn't at all critical of religion. He just said, it's necessary for the control of the masses. And they need ideas about sinning and reward in heaven and all those kind of things. If someone cannot feel some kind of empathy for someone naturally, then they don't feel it. And if that's a condition for many, many people, then they need religion. Love your neighbor, help your neighbor, all that kind of stuff. The big point that I really, really want to make, and I started with it, is that reason sees things as necessary and as they are. It does not complain about the state of things. We have global warming. We have a world of, or a population of politicians and business people and so on who seem to be largely in denial about it. Should we complain about that? Well, actually no, for the simple reason that they have vested interests. And will they bring down the whole fucking planet through their vested interests? Well, it's quite possible. And how can somebody rest easy with that? Well, you rest easy with it because you understand the mechanisms at work. When you understand that something is necessary, then you don't complain about it. If you believe that these people have a choice, then you're going to complain about it. Bastards, they're just doing this because of their own interests and so on and so forth. Well, of course they're doing it because of their own interests. They wouldn't do it for any other reason. So anyway, this is the way it is. And could this spell the end of humanity? Well, quite possibly. But again, that would be just a natural outcome of the way that we are built by nature. Humanity didn't construct itself. The way we're built by nature, and the inevitable outcome of being the way we are, which is we blow ourselves up or we fry ourselves or whatever happens in the end. Or maybe none of that happens. So that's the big difference. Reason accepts things as they are, as necessary, whereas religion believes that there are alternatives and options, and that we are in the main an unsatisfactory state of affairs, and that there is a better one if we can all be good boys and girls. It doesn't happen, and it never will.